Hi, this ExamSoft quick tip is to guide you through posting an assessment. You will meet the training objectives of this video if you're able to post a question bank assessment for your students. And I'm making differentiation here between performance assessments and question bank assessments. There's a different process for posting performance-based assessments, and we have other videos already on how to do that. You'll also meet the objectives if you're able to verify a posting that you make and then make any edits to an already posted assessment. So the first step is to log into the ExamSoft portal. Remember to log in as an administrator faculty using the email and password that would have been sent to you previously. If you don't remember that information, just click the lost password button here, use your Husson email address, and it will the system will send you a password reset email. Okay, so everything that we're going to talk about today is happening in the assessments part of the portal. So when you first log in, click on the assessments tab, and then we have to find an assessment that we want to post. So the assumption here is that you've already created the assessment in ExamSoft, and now you're just ready to make it available for your students to take it and exemplify. So go ahead, find your assessment using the left-hand directory tree, and then click on the assessment that you want to post. Once you've done that, you'll see the questions in your assessment as well as all the options. And what we need to do is scroll to the bottom of the question list and click the Post Assessment button. If you have a lot more questions, it will require you to scroll down the screen. Once you hit Post Assessment, you'll see this Post Assessment screen. And I'm going to go through each of the sections of this because this is really the main part of this video, the main point of this video. And I want to make sure that everyone understands what all these options are for because there's quite a few of them. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about is the posting name. This is just the same as your assessment name. You most of the time will just keep this the same. However, you can change it if you, for example, post an assessment year after year, semester after semester. You may want to change the semester part of the assessment name if that's there, and you can do that here so that it's differentiated and it's obvious to your students that this is for this particular semester. So you can go ahead and make those changes here. It will not change the assessment name, it'll just change what the students see and exemplify for this assessment. Okay, the next thing to talk about is the assessment password. This of course is very important. This is the thing that you have to give your students so that they can take the assessment. Remember that they'll be able to download the assessment within the download window that you specify, and I'll go into that in a moment. But they won't be able to start the assessment until they get this password. So this is something that you want to make that is, difficult enough that they're not likely to guess it, but not so difficult that it's hard to give it to them in class in a kind of a quick way. Most of the time you'll write this password up on the whiteboard. It does have to have at least 6 characters and 1 number as one of those characters. The next thing is that you want to tell the system to what class you're posting the assessment. If you click on this radio button, only show my courses, it will filter the course list to just show your courses, any courses that your name is associated with. If for some reason you're not seeing any courses when you do that, just contact someone in the Office of Assessment and we can update ExamSoft for you in the back end. That information gets pulled from Canvas, and sometimes Canvas is a little bit out of sync with what is in CAMS. So we can make adjustments on our end too. If you don't want to wait for that, you can keep this unchecked and go ahead and select the drop-down menu by course. It will show you all the courses currently active at Husson, and you can just scroll through all those and find yours that way. It just takes a little bit longer. It is organized alphabetically by the name of the class, not the number of the class. So the next thing you want to do is specify the window over which your students will have access to the download file. The download start time is not nearly as important as the end time. So you can leave the start time as is, and what the system will do is it will just choose 15 minutes into the future of whenever you're done filling out this part of the form. It gives you that 15 minutes just as a kind of a buffer period. If you realize that you've done something wrong or you want to make a change, you have 15 minutes to do that before the students are going to see this download file ready. that is kind of an important thing to take note of, because once one of your students downloads the file, you can't really make as many changes to it anymore. You can still change the download start and end time though, even if a student has downloaded it. But there are other things you won't be able to change. So that 15 minutes is, it's quite important to kind of catch any mistakes that you have made. The download end time is a little more important because we want to make sure that the students have access to the download file in a way that means that they're going to be ready to take the exam on exam day. So that's going to change for different courses and different programs. Some programs, for example, require all students to have downloaded the exam by 4 o'clock the night before the exam. If the students know that that's the case, well then it's perfectly okay to put 4 p.m. the day before the exam as your download end time. However, if students are new to ExamSoft or they're not aware of that kind of a policy, or that policy doesn't exist, I usually recommend that you make the download end time maybe 10-15 minutes into the exam period itself. That way students who don't download the exam file before they arrive at the exam still have an ability to download it when they do arrive. It doesn't really matter too much when this is. I mean, you might as well close the download end time sometime the day of the exam, but you could make this further on, even a couple hours after the end of the exam time. Just keep in mind that anyone who doesn't sit for the exam then may have access to start the exam in an unproctored environment. For example, if a student doesn't show up for class that day, someone else in the class can give them the password and they could go in and access the exam, after everyone has finished it at home, for example. So you just want to be careful of those kind of situations. So that's why, but really, if that student had downloaded the exam file within the window, they still would be able to do that. So you just have to kind of make note of what implications are that are created when you set these download start and end times. Okay, so the next thing is the maximum download option. Usually this is just set at 1. By changing this, you're changing how many downloads are available to the whole class. So it could be that you're giving them some sort of quiz where it's okay for them to take it more than one time, but for the most part you just want to keep this at 1. Remember that the system, ExamSoft, will only record the answers to the first upload that it gets. So even if you make this more than 1 and the student uploads more than once, it's only recording that first upload. The scheduled on option is really just something that helps ExamSoft balance their servers. I do recommend that you put in the date and time of your exam so that they can adjust their server load appropriately. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about everything on this side, but I will mention that email download reminder is sometimes useful. The system will automatically send students an email at whatever date you specify here. It's always at 2 a.m. in the morning, but it just reminds them to go into Exemplify and download an exam file that's waiting for them. That can be very helpful, especially if you post the exam, quite a bit in advance of them actually taking the exam. Upload deadline. Now this is one that you want to be careful of. This is going to make it, once the date and time that you specify here has passed, students will no longer be able to upload their exam file. So it doesn't, if a student is taking an exam, that download end time passes, their exam is not automatically uploaded like it would be if they ran out of time. It just won't let them finish the upload. What we can do though is, if that was a mistake or you still want to accept that file from the student, we can go back in and change this deadline and then it will allow them to upload. But that is something that we would have to go in and do. It's not going to automatically happen. This can be useful for online exams if you want to have a hard deadline. It's less useful for in-class exams where you're proctoring them anyway. I'm not going to talk about the secure review or additional security options. We have another ExamSoft quick tip about this. It's called ExamSoft Quick Tip Releasing Student Results. So please see that video if you're interested in the secure review. So once you have all these settings set, the next step is to click on the Post Assessment button. This can be a little bit tricky because if what you're looking for is this white screen, this white options box to disappear. And it can take a couple of seconds, 10, 15 seconds sometimes. If it doesn't disappear in that amount of time, it means there's an error of some sort. And that usually has to do with a conflict in the times that you've specified, or maybe you didn't select something that is necessary, like an assessment password. However, on many people's screens, you actually have to scroll down to see this post assessment button. So you don't see that there's an error because the error shows up here at the top. So your clue is, if this white screen doesn't disappear on its own, scroll back up to the top and look for an error. If it does disappear on its own, that means the posting happened the way it was supposed to, and you're good to go. Okay, I'm going to show you what this looks like in ExamSoft now. So I'm in my version of ExamSoft, my instance of ExamSoft, and I'm in the assessments part of the portal and in a particular directory that I have access to. And I know I want to show you on an assessment called 2019 SP Exemplify Orientation. So I'm going to click on that. You can see that it's been posted to many classes already. This is our practice assessment that we give students, so it's posted in many courses already. But if I wanted to post it again, this is how I would do it. I would click on the name. You'll see the questions here, and the post assessment button is what I want to click on. And here's that same screen that you saw before, and you see the scroll bar that I was just talking about is right here, because you don't see the post button until I scroll down. So I'm going to just put in some random numbers here for my password. I will select a course. I'm going to select our fake course, Goofology. I'll just leave the start and end, download times, max download, everything else I'll just leave as is. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the password to show you what an error looks like. It's not going to let me do that. So let's put in a bad password. Let's see if it lets me do that. Nope, it's still giving me errors that I can see. Alright, so let's do this. We'll put in that, and I'm going to put in a download end time that is prior to my download start. It shouldn't like that, so let's make this 3:15 today. Didn't give me an error initially, so let's go ahead and click post assessment and see what happens. Okay, it's just telling me that my download start time must be at least 15 minutes past the current time. It'll automatically adjust that to do that. That's okay. Let's say okay to this. A couple other warnings that we can say okay to. Okay, now normally you would just wait here until this white box disappeared, but it didn't disappear for me, so that's the clue that I should scroll to the top. And yes, there is an error here, and we knew there was going to be, so I'll just go and fix whatever error they're talking about. In this case, I can just change the time, and now the end time is after the start time. Scroll back down and hit post assessment, and I'll get those same notices, and the box disappeared, which is what we were looking for to happen. So I know that has been posted correctly. Okay, so just two more things to go over. I want to talk about how you verify that the posting is up and how to edit the posting. So we'll just come right back to ExamSoft. That is all done right here where I left off. So we just finished posting it. Now if you scroll down, you'll see at the bottom of this page there is a posting section, and this lists all the times this particular assessment has been posted and shows you the class that's been posted to, the time, the download start time and end time, and this little pencil icon is going to become important in a second. You can also see if that particular assessment has expired, meaning that the download end time has already passed. Okay, so let's find the one that I just posted, which should be at the very bottom of the list here. Yep, and you'll see I posted to Goofology, today's date, and it says right now unavailable. And it's saying unavailable because remember there was that 15-minute buffer time between when it was going to be available to the students and when I posted it. So it shouldn't become available until 4/18. It's only 4:05 right now. So when 4/18 passes, this would change from available to unavailable to available. So that's how you confirm that it's been posted and to what class it's been posted to. If I wanted to delete this posting right now, say I realized I made a mistake that I couldn't change by making an edit to the posting itself. For example, what often happens is someone realizes that the settings of the assessment itself are not what they wanted. For example, in this case, maybe I wanted the time limit to be 10 minutes instead of 20. Well, that's not a change that's going to be able to be made by just reposting it. That's a change that has to be made to the assessment itself by making a copy of the assessment. So I would want to take this posting down, make a copy, make my changes, and then repost that copy. However, if it was, so that's how you would do it. You just click this red X to take down this posting. Okay, but I can make other changes. For example, to any of those things that were on that white post assessment screen, we can access those again by clicking on this pencil icon. So when I did that, you'll see the same screen comes back up. And then I can make changes. For example, maybe I put it to the wrong course. I want to change the course. So all these kind of changes, I can change the assessment password. These kind of things, oh, actually no, I can't at this point. It's not going to let me change the password. So that's something that I would have to take the assessment down and then repost it to put a new password. So some of these things can be changed still, but once one student has downloaded the assessment, things like the course will no longer be available to be changed. You will still be able to change the download start and end time though, and this can be handy. For example, if your download end time has expired and then you hear from some students that they haven't downloaded it yet, you can come in here and extend that download end time, and then it becomes available for those students again. Once you've made those changes, again, come to the bottom of the screen and hit Save Post. I'm just going to hit Cancel because I didn't make any changes. However, I do want to remove this posting because we're not really wanting to collect any data. This was just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and click the red icon. It'll tell me that this is going to make it unavailable to my students, and that's exactly what I want. So I'll say OK. And then if you go to the bottom, it doesn't completely remove it from the list, but it says it's inactive. So this is not something that was ever posted for students to see. Okay, so that was all I was going to talk about for this ExamSoft quick tip. If you have any questions about posting assessments, please don't hesitate to contact someone in the Office of Assessment, and we'd be happy to help you out.